We're on day three of SpaceX as a publicly traded company right now. And I think the question that most investors are asking is SpaceX a buy? Is it a sell? Is it a hold? And here's my answer and how I think about it. While I may be a new channel on YouTube, I do have some experience working in this industry for 3+ decades, investing for 3+ decades. And I think the answer of buy, sell, or hold really is it depends. And it really comes down to three specific things. I think they're three separate questions. So I would joke, someone asked that the other day to me, and I said, yep. Should I buy, sell, or hold it? And I said, yes. What do you mean by that? Yes. Well, I think it really depends. It fully depends on what are you trying to do. I think right now it is a rage effect. When I started this channel a few weeks ago, I was thinking of most of the episodes being focused on this type of stuff, emerging technologies. This is video number 5, I think. And to this point, they've all been concentrated on SpaceX, not by intent. I mean, it's that in itself is saying SpaceX right now is occupying most of the oxygen in the room when it comes to this industry. It's the space economy. We're watching things unlock in front of our eyes. So really, for you, is it a buy, sell, or hold? Let me share my story. I did buy 10 shares of the IPO. I got my 10 shares at $135. And really, at the end of the day, is it going to make much of a difference in my net worth? No. 80% or more of my money is in index funds. There's a little bit of stability. But what I saw was exactly what I was hoping for. I bought SpaceX on the IPO day for 2 reasons. One, you heard me say I wanted to be part of history, just a cool thing. So let me see if I can get it. The other reason was about 3 years ago, I really started getting interested in this. And I remember a conversation I had with a podcast I was running at the time. There was a young investor in his 20s, about 25, 26 years old, and he introduced me to a company and helped me think about space and the space economy more broadly. Now, that was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, SpaceX was a private company, but he was fixated on a company called Rocket Lab, RKLB. That story is, again, one of the other few pure play traded space stocks out there that a person can invest in. And if you don't know the Rocket Lab story, it has taken off. At the time when we spoke, it was at $4, $6 a share. It is now well over 100. I think it topped at $150. So that introduced me that, hey, you know what, the space economy is a little bit bigger than what I thought about. Like when I was a kid growing up, space was pretty much NASA doing something, trying to launch a rocket, and then a couple days later, astronauts end up in a capsule in the ocean somewhere. It is so much more than that. So for the last 3 years, I've been learning, listening, and studying. So my situation is, for me, SpaceX right now is both a buy and a hold. I'm thinking long term. See, I bought SpaceX on June 12th, 2026, not for what it's going to be on June 16th, 2026. My goals are much longer than this, 3 to 5 years longer. When I hear the story, when I hear like Ron Barron talking about he had $24 billion in SpaceX, that's what he had invested in it when it was private. He did add $1 billion on the day of the IPO. His time frame is much longer. I see a path. I'm willing to wait 2030 and beyond to see it grow into its valuation. Because when I see a little bit of this, when I see a stock trading right now, let's take a look at a live trade of SpaceX right now. What is it showing? Ooh, $220. I think we had a 224 handle on it. If my math is correct, that is a $3 trillion market cap for a company that might have, what, $30 billion in sales? On no planet does that valuation make sense. If you think you are going to FOMO this thing up to higher levels, you might be right, you might not be right. But again, my time frame is a little bit longer. So I bought it. When I bought it, I'm specifically looking for 2 things. I bought it with the intention of it would open at 135, probably trade a wee bit higher, 160s to 180, and then do what's called price discovery. We're not in price discovery right now. We're still in the mania phase. I think I'm willing to wait it out. I think you have to be willing at this point, if you're a long term orientation, you got to be willing to have your pleasure spiked with pain a little bit at this point. There's a concentration. You have to think about it. There are not many pure plays where the public can invest in space right now. So that's a given. So you have that factor going into the price run up. You have another factor. It's a one-way market. It's a crowded trade. There are not many sellers out there. And if anything, there's a big turnstile of new buyers out there. Later this week, um, total stock market funds, those indexes can start adding SpaceX. By the end of June, we talked about it in the other episode of what sectors, what indexes are going to include SpaceX. And, we still have the NASDAQ, we have the QQQs, and that crowd that's going to be adding it. So we've got a lot of pent up buying demand yet. I think where we start getting price discovery and what make me a buyer instead of a holder again is when I get a better sense of price discovery. Initially, I was thinking 85 to 115 post IPO. And I'm kind of rethinking that right now. I'm kind of rethinking that, you know what? I gotta bring that. It's going to come in. This is going to trade in a bit, but I might be waiting for something that might not happen. It might take a big sell off in the market to see those. So where do I start buying it again? I'm thinking again, my main objective as a long-term investor is maybe we see this in the 135 to 160 range. And maybe, just maybe, this becomes one of the few in between IPOs that doesn't breach its initial IPO price. Google was one of the few companies that did that. And if you go back to about the 2004, 2005 range when Google went public, it was a pretty similar environment. Completely different company, but from a trading mechanic standpoint, what held that stock up, I'm seeing some similarities here. So I'm just taking what I learned. But what do you think? What's your thought on SpaceX? Is it buy, sell, or hold? I didn't cover the sell part. Let me give you my thoughts on the sell. If your orientation is short term, you have to be thinking, and you got stock IPO shares at 135, and it quickly ran up here. What do we look at is the 220s. You have to be thinking, this might be time to pack your bags. If not now, pretty soon, if you have no intention, if you can't stomach the volatility of potentially this thing trading down, coming back in, or willing to wait for a price discovery standpoint at better valuations, there's nothing wrong with taking a profit, locking at a profit, and trying again. This is not investment advice. This is just investing kind of logic, how I think about it. Yesterday, I live in the Southeast, and it's just terribly hot this time of year. And I saw 3 kids. I was going for a walk. It was just about at sunset. And it kind of made me think about this. There were 3 kids. They must have been 8, 10 years old, playing in the woods. The sun was getting ready to set. And I was watching at a distance. The 3 of them were just so excited. And what they were excited about was it was just starting to get dark. And that those first couple minutes when the fireflies first appear, well, think about those 3 kids. That's what was going on. And I watched them. They were running around in excitement, just trying to catch a firefly, catch one and get it in their jar. And I was walking and continued walking down the block. And I said, "Oh," I hear the girl saying something like, "Did I get it? Yep, you got it. Oh, did you get one? I'm going to get one too." And that's kind of, I think, where we are right now. It's a crazy analogy, but I think that's kind of where we are with SpaceX right now. There's just that fervor right now. Everyone's rushing to it. But to my other point, I think you have to really ask yourself, do you have the ability to take a little bit of pain? Could you wake up tomorrow and if this stock were back at 160, what would you do if you owned it? Would you regret it? Would you regret holding through a downturn? I've experienced a few of these things like that before. And you know what? I'm not going to kid you. When I watched copper run up from the 20s up to 100, and I think closer to 170, I regretted not selling it. But my approach was I'm building out the position. I can stick with it long term. And I was willing to take that. But every time we did have big pullbacks, I added to it because it was on my high conviction list. So I think that's the big thing. You have to look at what's on your high conviction list. And that's kind of why I started this whole YouTube right now. Again, I'm a 50-something-year-old person. I don't as a trade. know a lot about technology, in a sense, being an expert, like working as an engineer in one of these companies. But that doesn't dismiss what I felt my ability to learn, teach myself, and maybe help others along. And that's the whole reason this YouTube channel exists. It doesn't exist to sell a course or sign up for something, sign up for my trading strategies. I'm building this as one, my learning experience and what I'm coming across and how I think about things. But more importantly, what do I learn? Hopefully from you, comments that are left, and as the community grows, just learn a little bit more. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in this type of format, what I would call not a very heavily curated type channel, you're in the right place. And if so, would you consider subscribing and liking videos to receive more content like this?